Boundaries, Dwight! I think that's the first instance where I heard the word boundaries. So, I want today to talk about how to enforce them, how to set them, and why you shouldn't feel terrible for having them. And see, it's one thing that I came across quite a few years ago from a figure that's quite controversial, and he was saying something along the lines of, first of all, you have to speak your mind. You do not have to accept things that will make you hate the other people that you're interacting with. So, in the way he phrased it, he was phrasing, don't allow your children to do things that will make you hate them, right? So that was it. That was basically it. You don't want to have a spoiled brat on your hands. You don't want to have a child that's hated by everybody. And as you've been a child, as you've been a teenager, you know how those kids that are not calibrated are. Maybe they're extra needy, or maybe they have way too much energy, or maybe they emphasize the wrong things. They get upset easily, right? So, for a kid like that, it's an extremely tough life later on. Why? And no, I'm not promoting any product here. I'm just quite tired. The idea is that a kid up to a certain age, up to 11 years, unless he gets integrated in his circles, he's going to find it extremely difficult. He's going to start developing antisocial traits. He's going to find it extremely tough to communicate at a level that will not make his life harder for the rest of his life. And that's typically what happens with lots of young men. So that's the thing, especially if you have a boy, if he's 7, if he's 8, I would say even earlier than that. So generally, when kids are 3 or 4, you are starting to integrate them in society, right? So when you do that, they're going to kindergarten, and it's been shown that kids that are not integrating by the age of 5 or 6 will have trouble making friends later on. So I'm saying you all of this because you don't want to have a kid that nobody wants to play with, and you also don't want to be the kid that nobody wants to play with, right? So when you're thinking like this, you're thinking of what boundaries I can set in my life. You're thinking of what would be the best way to enforce them, what would be the best way so that I will not bother people too much. And that's the wrong way to think of. First of all, you define your set of values, the set of things that, well, you deem necessary for a happy life, or for a life well lived. That's the better phrasing, not necessarily a happy life. The values are different from me to you. They're conditioned by the society, by our like everything else, man. Like the whole environment. You can think of the food, you can think of your parents, you can think of your childhood friends, you can think of your experiences, you can think of your money situation, you can think of like literally everything that has made you has an influence on your values. And also the books that you've read, the things that you're adhering to, and political views, and so on and so forth. I said political views, we're not gonna go there. Just chill out, it's fine, we're not getting there. So those values are your own, and as long as they somehow identify with the values of the society, more than 80% of the time, because sometimes society, as Kierkegaard was saying, the crowd is untruth, right? So basically, sometimes society gets corrupted. Sometimes the knowledge of everybody becomes flawed knowledge, and because everybody accepts that as knowledge, they're not as fast to make the switch, to pivot into thinking in a different way, in a better way for everybody. In that case, it's perfectly fine to have different values, right? Some of your values may be not going out and drinking until 3 a.m. So that can be one of your values. And according to society, there's nothing wrong with that. According to life, there's nothing wrong with that. And according to everybody, literally, it's nothing wrong with that. But if you're having that value, it also helps you. It helps you. You can be up at 7, you can be up at 8, and you can be working on the things that make you happy, that make you fulfilled, that make you feel like your life is worth living, right? So this is a stupid or silly value, and there are so many values that you can have. So the idea is that you have your values, and then you have your wants. And once you know those two things, you can set good boundaries. And what does a boundary mean? It means saying no. And we're using this word, this phrase, setting boundaries, just to explain the way in which you have to say, hey, that's my limit, that's where I want to go, I don't want to move further than that. Not because I'm not in my comfortable zone, but because it breaks my own values, right? So we're going back to the idea of values. That's the thing. So as long as somebody wants you to do something, and by the way, in life, you will follow either your own goals or somebody else's goals. And you can be following your own goals, but everybody has an agenda. From the person that loves you the most, from your mom. Like, I love my mom to bits. I will admit that. But even she has an agenda, right? She wants me to be happy. Like, that's an agenda, okay? Even if it's a positive one, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay? So everybody has an idea of what you should do with your life. Most of the time they don't care. But if they would care, or if you would ask them, what should I do with my life, they will probably tell you, like, go get that job, go date that person, go do that thing, whatever. And they will probably say what makes them happy, right? Or what makes them fulfilled, or what do they really want, or even what they think it's the best thing for you. So the thing is that you also need to have your own set of goals and your own set of values. And once you have that, you can set boundaries. And you're setting them by being firm. And that's the thing with the boundaries. Once you allow somebody to cross your boundaries once, they're gonna do it forever. It's extremely tough to set boundaries retroactively. And you can find that in old relationships. And I'm saying, somebody that's been dating the other person for 10 years, and right now, I mean, they've always been unhappy with one of the habits of that person. Let's say, man, come on, give me a habit that will give me a lot of slack. Because I don't want to say something that will, okay, fine, I'll get this example and it will piss people off. Whatever, I don't really care. Let's say smoking, right? So you've always had a problem with smoking in house. You don't care what happens outside, but you don't want in your palace somebody to be smoking. And I just have this value myself. That's why it's so easy to discuss this with you, right? And you're dating with somebody. Guess what? You're in the first 6 months of dating, or in the first 3 months of dating, or I don't know. And at some point, you both decided that you should spend more time at your place, right? Then that's a good time to set boundaries. To say, hey, you know what? I do adore you, and to say it in a really loving way. I do adore you, and I understand that smoking is not something that you can quit overnight. And I do appreciate that, but for me, smoking inside my house, it's not acceptable. That's one thing that I never want you to do. If you can accept that, then I'm really happy to move forward. If you cannot do that, then I'm also happy to let things end, or let things fizzle out, or move back to where we were when each person was living in their own apartment, right? And we don't have to spend the nights at each other, or I can spend nights at your place if that's what you want. I'm giving you the relationship talk just because that's the easiest way to put it. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You don't have to be rude about it. You will get a lot of pushback when you're setting boundaries. Man, I do know that. But that's the thing. Unless you're setting boundaries, we're going back to what I said initially. With not allowing your kids to do something that you hate. It's the same with the loved ones. You're not allowing or any people that you're in a relationship, you're not allowing them to do something that you absolutely hate, that will make you get turned off, that will make you stop wanting to be with them, or stop wanting to hang out, or, just be a worse friend to them. Like, I don't like gossiping, right? So if you're doing that with me, I'm honestly thinking that you're doing that with somebody else about me. Because that's how gossip works, right? So I will probably tell you that, hey, I'm not really interested in debating other people. Like, we're out having fun, having drinks. That should be a plugin, man. They should sponsor me. The amount of cans that I drank in my uni years, that they definitely should give me some of that cash back for this unpaid promotion. But yeah, we're having a good time. So why are you bringing other people in our conversation? Like, I really don't care. If I wanted to talk with other people, I would have been there with them. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying it in the following way. I'm saying, hey, I think it's quite disrespectful to be talking about other people. I do enjoy our time together, and I want to talk about what interests us, or what we're doing, or maybe, watch something together, or, shoot some stuff. I don't know. Have fun. I don't want to swear because YouTube, right? So that's the thing. Um, that's how you should, and how I believe you need to set boundaries. And that's the first step in you having better relations and connections with everybody. And with that, thank you so much. We're gonna hear each other again soon.